Assalamu alaikum everyone. How are you all? I hope everyone, each of you would surely be doing great. Today I'm up with the last lecture, and that is our 12th lecture. It's the recap of all units. First of First of all, our first lecture was about the question words, in which we read different question words about different question words. The first word that we read was when, which represents time. For example, when did they go to Peshawar? And the answer would be last year. So if you would have to ask somebody about the time when he or she visited Peshawar, you would be Peshawar or some other city or any other place. You would put it this way. You would use the question word when. Then comes where. Where represents place. Where did they stay in Peshawar? And the answer would be in a guest house. So if you have to ask somebody that where did you go and where did you stay, you would be using when and where. Why? Why represents or asks for reason. Why did they go to Peshawar? And the answer would be because they wanted to visit some old friends. So if you would have to ask about the reason for doing something or anything, you would use the question word why. Then comes the question word what, which represents object. What did they buy from Peshawar? And the answer would be some beautiful brass and copper items. So you would use the question word if you would have to ask about the object. Then comes the question word which. When you have a choice, or when you have to give a choice of two things, you would be using the word which. Which item did she like the best? The one that's made of copper. This would be the answer. Whose represents possession. Whose bag was the heaviest? And the answer would be like Jamal's bag was the heaviest. Whom tells us about the person. Whom did they meet? The Duranis. Who again tells us about the person, represents person. Who took their order at the restaurant? And the answer would be the waiter. And then there is another question word that which is how, and it tells us about the manner. कोई चीज़ किस तरह हुई, उस चीज़ के बारे में अगर आपने पूछना हो तो you would be using the question word how. Then we read about the simple present tense. The simple present tense is used to describe an action, an event or condition that is occurring in the present at the moment of speaking or writing. सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस हम कब यूज़ करते हैं? सिंपल प्रेजेंट टेंस हम तब यूज़ करते हैं जब हमने उस एक्शन की बात करनी होती है जो हम जब बोल रहे होते हैं उस टाइम पे हो रहा होता है. या it can be an action, it can be an event or a condition that is occurring in the present. हाल में जो काम हो रहा होता है. Subject. How do we make a sentence of if we have to say something in the present tense? The structure would be like the subject and then the verb form. I would be telling you and I'll be giving you some examples. If the subject is I, then you would be using simple first form of the verb. Example, I sing. If the subject is you would be using again the same simple base form of the verb, and the example is like you sing. Then comes the subject he, and when the subject is he, you would put s or es with the verb. It depends like what the verb is. So simple base form of the verb plus s or es. For example, he sings. Again, if it's she, you use this s or es with the simple form of the verb, which is the base form of the verb, and the example is she sings. If it is it, you will use the simple form plus s or es with your verb, and the answer would be it sings. If the subject is we, you'll use the simple form of the verb simple first form of the verb and nothing with it. The example would be we sing, and if the subject is they, you would be using simple form of the verb, and the example would be like they sing. So yes, in easy words, अगर तो subject singular है, अगर एक बंदे की बात हो रही है, the doer of the action is one person, you would use he. If the doer of the action is one person, you put s or es for the verb. If the doer of the action is plural or it's you or it's I, ठीक है? वैसे तो I और you भी singulars हैं, but when it comes it comes the talk of I and it comes the talk of you, with we and they, we just use the first form of the verb with nothing with it. Then comes the present continuous tense. Present continuous tense is formed using two components, the verb be in the present tense and the ing form of a verb. Here are the rules using the example verb sing. Now you see, do you know the meaning of be in the present tense? Be, we change be into am if the subject is I. We change be into is if the subject is he or she or it. And we change be into are if the subject is we or they. And then we'll just put ing with the simple base form of the verb to change it into the present continuous tense. Let's move on with the examples. If the subject is I, you see I've changed am, be into am, and then I have put ing with sing, and it's like I am singing. If it's you, then I have put are, and then again ing with the verb. He, I have put is, and then again ing with the verb. If it was she, I have again used is and put ing with the verb. If it's it, you would be putting is with it and again ing with the verb. And we ke saath, you would be using are and ing with the verb. So the examples are I am singing, you are singing, he is singing, she is singing, it is singing, we are singing. Then comes the conjunction. We read about the conjunctions also. A conjunction is a connecting word that connects parts of a sentence. Now we read about two types of conjunctions, the coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions join single words or they may join groups of words, but remember they always join similar elements, ठीक है? Coordinating conjunctions जो वो similar एक जैसी चीज़ों को join करने के लिए इस्तेमाल होते हैं, जबकि subordinating conjunctions जो होते हैं, a subordinating conjunction is sometimes called a dependent word or subordinator, जो अकेला कुछ मीनिंग नहीं देता, ये उस वर्ड को एक और वर्ड या किसी चीज़ की ज़रूरत होती है to give the full meaning, and it comes at the beginning of a subordinate or dependent clause. And where does it come? In the beginning of the subordinate or the dependent clause. Dependent or subordinate clause वो होता है जिसको किसी और group of words या सहारे की ज़रूरत होती है to give the full meaning. Then we read about the tags, positive statements and the negative statements. Positive statements, it's a lovely day, it's such an expensive gift. If the statement is positive, then the tag is negative. अगर statement आपकी positive है तो आप उसके साथ negative tag लगाओगे. And if the statement is negative, like it wasn't a good film, he is not a good man, you would be using a positive tag with it. Then we read about the present perfect tense. Present perfect is used when the time period has not finished. ठीक है, present perfect tense कब यूज होता है? जब time period जो है अभी ख़त्म ना हुआ हो. For example, I have seen 3 movies this week. This week has not finished yet, right? अभी मैंने 3 movies देख ली हैं, and the week is still going on. So you would be using which tense of which tense? Present perfect tense. The second example, the present perfect is often used when the time is not mentioned. We also use it when the time is not mentioned. For example, Junaid has failed the exam again. Then we read about synonyms. Synonyms are words with similar or identical meanings. Synonyms वो words होते हैं जिनके same meanings होते हैं. जो अगर कोई वर्ड दिया गया है उसका अगर उस काइंड ऑफ लाइक अगर एक वर्ड है और उसी तरह का आपको एक और वर्ड निकालना है और दोनों का मीनिंग एक ही हो तो हम उसको synonyms कहते हैं. Then comes the antonyms. Antonyms are the words with opposite meanings. एक word or and if it's not, the other word its opposite would be north, south, and if it's east, its opposite would be west. So it's like that. Opposite बिल्कुल एक दूसरे से अलग होते हैं. Opposites. Read some examples of synonyms. First, baby and faint, student and pupil, pretty and attractive, smart and intelligent, sick and ill, funny and humorous, died and expired. Now you see all of these pairs, the words in these pairs have exactly the same meanings. So these are called synonyms. Antonyms. Antonyms are the opposite words like I've told you earlier. Dead and alive, near and far, war and peace, tremendous and awful. Now you see all of these words, pair of words, each word in a pair has a different meaning. Then we read about the expressions. Whenever we have a conversation or discussion, we spend a lot of time agreeing or disagreeing with the ideas, opinions or arguments of the person or people we're talking to. जब भी हम किसी से कोई बात कर रहे होते हैं या हमारा डिस्कशन हो रहा होता है या हम कन्वर्स कर रहे होते हैं तो हम बहुत सारा टाइम लगाते हैं उस पर. कभी हम अग्री करते हैं, कभी हम डिसअग्री करते हैं, कभी हम अपना ओपिनियन देते हैं, कभी हम आर्ग्यूमेंट करते हैं. And that's how it's going on. And while doing so, we give different expressions. There are many ways of expressing agreement in English, such as I agree with you. Yes, I quite agree. I absolutely agree. I couldn't agree with you more. You're right. You're quite right. You're absolutely correct. So these are the different ways of giving expressions on different things in English. Okay, then comes we also read about the past tense. We use past tense to tell about something that happened at a specific time in the past. The simple past tense is one of the most common tenses in English. When you talk about an event that happened in the past, it is very natural to tell your listeners or readers when it happened. Past tense is usually formed by adding ed to the verb. अच्छा जी, जब हमने किसी ऐसे काम का या ऐसी बात का जिक्र करना होता है जो गुजरे हुए वक्त में हो चुकी होती है तो हम पास्ट टेंस लगाते हैं. क्या लगाते हैं? हम पास्ट टेंस का इस्तेमाल करते हैं और इसमें यूजुअली हम वर्ब के साथ ed ऐड कर रहे होते हैं. Let us learn some basic rules about how to form the past tense. Modal verbs, it's not written here, I've missed out, but still I can tell you a few examples. If it's lock, its second form, its past form is locked. If it's open, its past form is opened. If it is create, its second form would be created. Got it? So when you have to use the following verbs in the past tense, we use ed with it. But there are some irregular verbs जिनका first form, second form, third form जो है वो different होता है. तो हमने अपने दिमाग में क्या रखना है कि whenever we have to say something in the past tense, we have to use the second form of the verb. अगर तो ये regular verbs होंगे तो ed लगा होगा verb के साथ, और अगर वो irregular verb होगा तो irregular verbs are the verbs जिनकी तीनों फॉर्म्स जो है वो डिफरेंट है. सो आपने क्या करना है? आपने सेकेंड फॉर्म ऑफ द वर्ब यूज करना है if you have to tell something in the past tense. Then came the modal verbs. Modal verbs are special verbs which behave very differently from normal verbs. जो modal verbs हैं वो बिल्कुल different हैं normal verbs से. Modal verbs are also used to express certainty, probability, possibility or impossibility. So modal verbs जो है वो as I have told you earlier, they're completely different from the normal verbs. और इनका purpose क्या होता है? certainty को show करना, probability को show करना, possibility या impossibility को use करना. the modal verbs are can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, ought to, must. When do we use modals? To talk about someone's ability or inability to do something. For example, we can find your house without any problem. He can't have a new job without a proper degree. To talk about an action that is necessary. For example, you must always have your driver's license when you are driving your car. You need not carry a lot of money with you in the bazaar. Or to talk about a situation that is impossible or possible. For example, be careful with that glass, or you might cut your finger. You would be saying it like this: be careful with that glass, you might cut your finger. Or don't change your travel plans, you might not get the tickets again. Present forms are can, iska past form is could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must, ought to, and need would be used as it is. Then comes the skimming. We also read about it. Skimming is a fast reading technique that helps us to quickly identify the main ideas of a text. Skimming means जल्दी से read करना, right? जो हमें जिससे हम idea लगा लेते हैं that what is it about, what is the text about. People often skim when they have lots of material to read in a limited time. लोग skimming तब करते हैं जब उनके पास थोड़े से वक्त में बहुत ज़्यादा कोई चीज़ मटेरियल पढ़ने के लिए होता है. When you read the newspaper, you're probably not reading it word by word. You're actually skimming, and if you like something to read, then you read it in detail. ऐसा ही होता है. आप newspaper उठाते हो, you don't read everything. You don't read each and every news. You read the news that clicks you when you pick it up. And yes, that's when we do that's normally when we do skimming while reading the newspaper. Scanning is a technique you often use when looking up a word in a dictionary. In most cases, you know what you're looking for, so you are concentrating on finding a particular answer. Scanning involves moving your eyes quickly down the page, seeking specific words and phrases when you actually need. समझ में आ गया होगा आपको? जब आप डिक्शनरी उठाते हो and you're looking for a meaning of a particular word, आप पेज खोलते हो and you just look out for that word. ठीक है, जल्दी से नज़र घुमा के and you just find that word and the answer and the meaning to that word, and yes, you जो आपको करना होता है वो आप करते हो. You don't read each and every word or each and every meaning to get the meaning of the word that you need. So yes, that's called the scanning. When scanning, look for words that are bold. Scanning का जब हम कर रहे होते हैं तब we usually look at the words that are bold faced, that are italics, or in a different font size, style, or a color. Now let's try and understand what we mean by the term obligation and how we can express obligation. Obligation is a noun which means the act of binding oneself by a social, legal, or moral tie. A social, legal, or moral requirement such as a duty, contract, or promise that compels one to follow or avoid a particular course of action. A course of action imposed by society, law, or conscience by which one is bound or restricted. An act or course of action that is demanded of one as by position, custom, law, or religion. Some similar words that mean the same as the word obligation are commitment, duty, need, responsibility, liability. In easy words, obligation means your duty, your responsibility. अगर आप मुसलमान हो तो आपकी क्या responsibility है? आपकी responsibility है आप follow करो whatever are the teachings of Islam, and you have to then preach them to others also. So this is your duty being a Muslim, and that's what we call obligation. Then comes preferences. We all have our preferences or choices in food, clothes, colors, music, books, films, and people. What do we mean when we say I prefer? Well, it means to make a choice, to favor something rather than the other. We express our preferences in a number of ways. Preference होता है आप किसी चीज़ कोई चीज़ आपको ज़्यादा बेहतर लगती है और कोई चीज़ आपको कम बेहतर लगती है. We all make choices in food, clothes, colors. We make choices in music, books, films, and people. What do we mean when we say I prefer? Well, it means to make a choice to favor something. I prefer का मतलब होता है जब हम It means to make a choice to favor something rather than the other. We express our preferences in a number of ways. For example, I prefer a glass of fresh juice. I rather have fruit for lunch than a full meal. I prefer pure cotton clothes in summers. So that's how we show the preference. That's how we tell our preference to others. Then we read about future tense. Whenever we talk about preference and intentions, we normally use the future tense. Here is an exercise. First try and do it yourself, and then we'll give you some detailed explanation about the future tense. The simple future tense, when you open your book, you would have done the exercise when you really opened the book. So yes, that's the exercise here that you have to do. The simple future has two different forms in English: will and be going to. Will and be going to. Although the two forms can sometimes be used interchangeably, they often express two very different meanings. These different meanings might seem too abstract at first, but with time and practice, the differences will become clear. Both will and going to refer to a specific time in the future. In English, the future tense is expressed in a number of ways. The most common are will, going to. The same idea can be expressed using two different future tense words. Read these examples. I'll finish my homework in an hour. I'm going to finish my homework in an hour. I'm so hungry. I'll eat the whole watermelon. I'm so hungry. I'm going to eat the whole watermelon. So that's all what we read throughout the semester. And yes, I'm sure you would have understood each and everything very clearly. If still there is something that you would feel like asking, if still there is something that you haven't understood, you can come up with questions in the on the platform that we have given you. You can put out as many questions as you want, and I'll make sure that I'll answer all of them. Yes. First, I've told you, first we read about the question words, जिसमें हमने when की बात की, जो टाइम को रिप्रेजेंट करता है. अगर आपने किसी से ये पूछना हो कि काम कब हुआ, so you would use the question word when. अगर आपने ये किसी से ये पूछना है कि कोई गया और कहाँ गया, so you would use the word where. If you have to ask about a reason behind something, you would use the question word why. And if you have to ask about the object, you would use the word what. Then if you have a choice of two, you would use the word which, question word which. If you have to talk about the possession, you would use the question word whose. If you have to talk about people, persons, you would use the question words whom and who, depending upon the situation, the sentence you're making, thing you have to ask. And then if you have to ask about koi kaam kaise kiya gaya, manner of something, you would use the question word how. Then we talked about the question word. Then we talked about the simple present tense, जो हाल को डिस्क्राइब करता है, जो काम करंट टाइम पे हो रहा हो, जब आप बोल रहे हो उस वक्त. कोई एक्शन हो रहा हो या कोई इवेंट हो रहा हो या कोई कंडीशन हो दैट इज अकरिंग इन द प्रेजेंट, आप इस और वो बात आपने किसी को बतानी हो, यू वुड यूज द simple present tense. और उसके साथ if the subject is I, if the subject is you, if the subject is we or they, you would just put the first form of the verb in a sentence. If the subject is he, if the subject is she, or if the subject is it, you would put s or es with the verb. I gave you the examples like I sing, you sing, he sings, she sings, it sings, we sing, they sing. Then we talked about the present continuous tense, in which we have two components, the verb be in the present tense and the ing form of a verb. फिर उसके हमने कुछ रूल्स आपको बताए और हमने कुछ एग्जांपल्स आपको बताए यूजिंग the verb sing. If the subject is I, if the subject is you, or if the subject is he, if it's she, if it's it, or if it's we would change the verb be into am. For you we'll change it into are. For he we'll change it into is. For she we'll change it into is. For it we'll again change it into is, and for we will change it into are, and then we'll just put ing with the first form of the verb. फिर हमने conjunctions की बात की, और conjunctions क्या होते हैं? These are the words used to connect two different connect parts of a sentence. जो coordinating conjunctions होती हैं वो same parts को join कर रही होती है, similar elements को join कर रही होती हैं, whereas the subordinating conjunctions they usually join a dependent clause, a dependent word or a subordinator with the independent ones. Then we talked about tags, जिसमें मैंने आपको बताया कि अगर तो आपने पॉजिटिव सेंटेंस लिखा हुआ है, आपने कोई अच्छी बात कही है कह रहे हो, तो उसके साथ आप नेगेटिव टैग लगाओगे, और अगर आप कोई नेगेटिव बात कर रहे हो तो आप उसके साथ पॉजिटिव टैग लगाओगे. फिर मैंने आपको पॉजिटिव स्टेटमेंट्स दी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ द स्टेटमेंट इज इट इज़ अ लवली डे, तो इसके साथ आप टैग आपने नेगेटिव लगाना है तो आप क्या लगाओगे? इज़न्ट इट, इट्स सच एन एक्सपेंसिव गिफ्ट, इसका टैग भी नेगेटिव होगा एंड इट वुड बी इज़न्ट इट. फिर आपने एक नेगेटिव स्टेटमेंट देखी, इट वॉजंट अ गुड फिल्म, और उसका टैग पॉजिटिव होगा एंड आप उसको कहोगे वॉज इट. ही इज़ नॉट अ गुड मैन, ही इज़ नॉट अ गुड मैन, और इसका टैग भी पॉजिटिव होगा, इज ही. Then we talked about the present perfect tense, in which I told you that the present perfect is used when the time period has not finished. Present perfect tense हम तब यूज़ करते हैं जब time period अभी चल रहा हो, finish ना हुआ हो, और हम present perfect tense तब भी यूज़ करते हैं जब time mention ना हुआ हो. फिर मैंने आपको बताया कि synonyms वो words होते हैं जिनके meanings similar होते हैं, जिनके identical meanings होते हैं, और antonyms वो words होते हैं जिनके opposite meanings होते हैं. फिर मैंने आपको एग्जांपल्स दी synonyms की, जिसमें कुछ पेयर्स थे लाइक बेबी एंड infant, student and pupil, pretty and attractive, smart and intelligent, sick and ill, funny and humorous, died and expired. फिर कुछ antonyms के पेयर्स थे जिसमें dead and alive, near and far, war and peace, tremendous and awful था. फिर expressions की हमने बात की, और फिर मैंने आपको ये बताया कि whenever we have a conversation or discussion, we spend a lot of time किसी बात से agree करने में, किसी बात से disagree करने में, किसी बात पे अपनी opinion देने में. Arguments तो हम पाकिस्तानियों की आदत है, we do a lot of argument about each and everything. So yes, we use different expressions in that. Expressions like I agree with you, yes I quite agree, I absolutely agree, I couldn't agree with you more, you're right, you're quite right, you are absolutely correct. We use past tense. When do we use it? We use it to tell about something that happened at a specific time in the past. The simple past tense is one of the most common tenses in English. When we talk about an event that happened in the past, it is very natural to tell your listener that when it happened. And पास्ट टेंस में हम सेकेंड फॉर्म ऑफ द वर्ब यूज़ करते हैं. अगर हमारे पास रेगुलर वर्ब आ रहा हो तो उसके साथ सिंपली हम ईडी लगा देते हैं. और अगर इरेगुलर वर्ब होता है तो वो इरेगुलर वर्ब्स वो होते हैं जिनकी तीनों फॉर्म्स जो है अलग होती है. तब हमें ये जहन में या अपने दिमाग में ये बात रखनी होती है that if it's the past tense, we'll just put the second form of the verb. मॉडल वर्ब्स आपको बताए थे मैंने कि बिल्कुल डिफरेंट होते हैं. ये स्पेशल वर्ब्स होते हैं. ये नॉर्मल रूटीन वर्ब्स जो होते हैं उनसे डिफरेंट होते हैं. और ये यूजुअली यूज़ हो रहे होते हैं सर्टेनिटी को एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए, प्रोबेबिलिटी को, पॉसिबिलिटी या इम्पॉसिबिलिटी को एक्सप्रेस करने के लिए. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कैन, कुड, मे, माइट, विल, वुड, शैल, शुड, ought to, must. When do we use models? We use them to talk about someone's ability or inability to do something. We use them to talk about an action that is necessary. We use them to talk about a situation that is possible or impossible. Present form of the verbs are can, may, will, shall, must, ought to, need. Past form है could, might, would, should, to, all, can, may, will and shall. फिर हमने बात की skimming की. Skimming is a fast reading technique that is used to quickly identify the main idea of a text. People often skim when they have lots of material to read in a limited time. When you read the newspaper, you're probably not reading it word by word, you're actually skimming. And if you like something to read, then you read it in detail. और ऐसा ही होता है जब हम न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ रहे होते हैं. हम हर वर्ड नहीं पढ़े होते हैं, हम वो वर्ड्स पढ़ते हैं. हम कुछ ऐसे मतलब like we'll just go through the paper, and if you find something interesting, we read that thing in detail, and that's actually what we do. Scanning is a technique. We often use it when we look up for a word in a dictionary, and that's so right. हम जल्दी से नज़र गुजारते हैं पेपर के ऊपर से and reach that word जिसका मीनिंग हमें एक्चुअली में चाहिए होता है. So when we are scanning, we look for words that are bold, faced, italics, or in a different font size, style, or color. Then I told you about the obligation. It's a noun. It's similar words. Its synonyms are commitment, duty, need, responsibility, liability. The action of binding oneself by a social, legal, or moral tie. आपकी आप सोशली किस तरह बाउंड हैं, आप लीगली और मॉरली किस तरह बाउंड हैं. A social, a legal or moral requirement such as a duty, contract or promise that compels one to follow or avoid a particular course of action. A course of action imposed by society, law or conscience by which one is bound or restricted. An action or course of action that is demanded of one as by position, custom, law or religion. Some similar words that mean, I've told you earlier, the same as the word obligation are commitment, duty, need, responsibility and liability. Then we talked about preferences. We all have our preferences or choices in food, clothes, colors, music, books, films and people. What do we mean when we say I prefer? I've told you what it means to make a choice, to favor something rather than the other. We express our preferences in a number of ways. For example, I prefer a glass of fresh juice. I rather have fruit for lunch than a full meal. I prefer pure cotton clothes in summers. Then we talk about the future tense, and when we talk about preferences and intention, we normally use the future tense. Then you would have done the exercise. The simple future has two different forms in English, that is will and be going to. Although the two forms can sometimes be used interchangeably, they often express two very different meanings. These different meanings might seem too abstract at first, but with time and practice, the differences will become clear. Both will and going to refer to a specific time in the future. In the English, the future tense is expressed in a number of ways. उसमें कॉमन क्या है, will and going to, और मैंने आपको एग्जांपल्स दिए. I'll finish my work in an hour and I'm going to finish my work in an hour. I'll finish my work in an hour. मैं 1 घंटे में अपना काम ख़त्म कर लूँगा. I am going to finish. मैं अपना काम 1 घंटे में ख़त्म करने जा रहा हूँ. Got it? So that's all about today's lecture. Again, the same thing. If you would have to ask something, put your question on the platform there. I would answer that. Please अपनी assignments को जल्द से जल्द करिए और उनको submit कराइए and do them with whole your heart. They carry a lot of marks. So yes, good luck with them. Good luck future, and all the best. Take care. Allah Hafiz.